NVIDIA's RTX series is known for its outrageous pricing, but it does have good performance. Now that we got the 2060 from NVIDIA, could this be different? Could this really be the card for budget gamers? Let's find out. The new RTX 2060 over here is built by NVIDIA to finally address a lot of those pricing problems by slashing the price all the way down to $349. Now, which is still quite a bit, but it's still better than that 2070 price tag of $500 plus. That's how much it was on Amazon last time I checked. But forget about that for a second. How well does it actually do? This is a 2060, so this is less than the 2070 and the 2080. Does it really hold up? And can it really do its signature feature of ray tracing? Alright, so starting with Fortnite, we have Epic on the graphic settings, and basically we're just going to do a drop, but if you notice on the FPS counter, it is capped at 60, so not really good for benchmarks, but you can tell when it drops down. You can see the frame rate stuttering and kind of going crazy, but it starts to stabilize, especially when we're down on the ground, like in this building. As you can see, it's very stable, 60. For some reason, I couldn't get any of Precision X to work for this game, so yeah, this is about the only benchmark really that we can get, so it runs fine. I did put down the settings a little bit after a while because it wasn't running that well on Epic. So if you look at the drop now, this frame rate is a little bit more stable now. It's pretty much staying at 60 during the drop, and yeah, it looks about the same. To be honest, you shouldn't be having any problems with Fortnite. Just a minor drop once in a while. It might be due to drivers, who knows. Inside a building, there's no problems at all. Jumping over, no stuttering. Building worked fine, so high looks like it's the best, maybe. But Epic, you shouldn't have a problem. There's a little combat scenario here. Stuttering, usually what happens is combat scenarios take a huge toll. No problems. So moving on to Forza, we're obviously going to be able to get more graphics, and it's a bit more optimized. So everything's set to Ultra on Advanced, so for sure everything's on Ultra. You could go to Extreme for a couple things, but I decided to just leave it. So here is the benchmark. It's basically just a little race that they do, and generally speaking, it does a pretty good job of benchmarking, for Forza at least. So we're getting solid 60 on the counter that they have, but you can't really use that because we're capped due to the monitor. So ignoring that, well, you'll find out what the actual benchmarks are on this because it's actually on benchmark mode. But one thing you could notice is look at those shadows. This has night shadows, and they're extremely taxing on the GPU. And this GPU just works them like a champ. There's no issues. You could see the lines going perfectly, so shadows are great. And that's not RTX, by the way. This is just plain software rendition. So we got really good FPS on GPU. We got about 90 average, which on everything on the highest, and memory is pretty good. It stayed around 4 gigs more or less. So then we move on to Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now this is a really taxing game, especially because of the optimization, especially on Xbox One. It's terrible. There is no optimization. There's screen tearing everywhere, but on PC it looks like the 2060 is able to run it perfectly fine. This is on the highest quality, obviously, as you saw. It's once again capped at 60 on this FPS counter, but we can see the actual FPS at the end. I cut short some of the sequences because they're really long, and obviously I don't want you sitting around with those. So pretty much here you go. There is some stuttering here, but I'm not sure that's because of the game necessarily, and I think it's more like a software issue, as in their own issue with the benchmark, because I've noticed this on pretty much every setting, on a different graphics card as well, so I think it's just their problem. Now moving on to Paititi, as you can see, everything looks really nice. This is the shot from above, so obviously frame rates are going to be perfectly fine. The problems start when we go into the city. Now on Xbox, it's basically unplayable, which is kind of weird on Xbox One, but here, as you can see, everything is working perfectly. There's no screen tearing. I have VSync enabled, but everything looks really, really nice. As you can see, all the graphics are really good. The frame rate is 60. That guy needs to cover up. Other than that guy, everything is pretty good. There's nothing to really complain about. So I'm just gonna let this benchmark finish off because there's only like a couple seconds left. And now, almost. Now you get to see the actual results. So as you can see, they're really good. If you look at the GPU, obviously you can't look at the average FPS. You gotta look at that little GPU area. It's not bad. The maximum was really good. The average was really good. Nothing to complain about once again. It's very similar performance to Forza. I don't know about that stuttering, but hopefully that's not going to become a problem. Alright, so if you take a look at this graph though, you can really see why we may have been experiencing all those weird stutters. As you can see, the memory on this graphics card is maxed out. So it looks like 6 gigabytes may not be enough in 2019 for ultra graphics, but we can sort of put it down to poor optimization, and at the same time we have the fact that we are on ultra settings, and yeah, pretty much you gotta put down the settings a little bit. But ultra looks playable, and also the fact that you saw stuttering on benchmarks doesn't necessarily mean you'll have stuttering in game, because for me, I never really faced these stutters at all, and that's why it's always news to me to see all this stuttering. Well, after those benchmarks, it's pretty obvious that this card is no slouch. This thing performed really well, and basically it's at the level of a 1070 Ti, just a little bit less. But that's fine on paper, and it sounds great because the price is obviously far less, but you are missing out on a little bit of VRAM. But as the tests show, it's not that big of a deal until you get to Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but you know, you can work it out. It's not terrible at this price point. Now, the problem is people really either hate this card or they absolutely love this card. And that's pretty much the reactions I've been seeing on the internet when I was doing my research for this card. And I think the issue is that people just aren't asking the right questions. Okay, so here's the problem. People are asking the question, what does the card do right now? And that's a perfectly fair question considering you're buying something, right? What is it gonna give me as of now? And basically it's gonna give you the same exact thing a 1080 Ti would, let's say. But what is it doing? It's just outputting graphics like a regular graphics card. The problem is that it's also a 60 series, right? So it should be historically around $250. So asking this question, you would also ask, why is it not $250 and why is it $350? So the right question to ask for this card, unfortunately, is what will happen in the future? And that's kind of hard to fathom for some people because you're buying it now. Why isn't all these features available? No idea. But here's what's coming. And basically, it's going to be RTX, which is kind of sad because that's the main feature of this card. You know, the whole meme with RTX on, RTX off. Why isn't it available yet, except for Battlefield 5? And second is the machine learning cores, which is far more interesting. Okay, I forgot to turn on the lamp, but well, now you can see me properly. Anyway, let's talk about the first feature, RTX. RTX is basically their little code name for ray tracing, and it's kind of their brand name, whatever. RTX 2060, right? But here's the problem, it's not really available except for Battlefield 5, and that's fine that we have at least one game finally, but I don't like the fact that it's only on an FPS, it's in a first-person shooter game. And RTX, or ray tracing, happens on dedicated RT cores, but it's really taxing, and it takes up a lot of power. In fact, it's pretty much half the performance. Battlefield 5 runs 60 frames per second on our graphics card that we're reviewing right now, but you have to tweak it, and that's not okay. I don't think that you should be tweaking settings, especially at this price point, especially when ray tracing is the main feature of this card. You're not buying it for anything else. It's RTX 2060 for a reason. And I kind of have a problem with that, and I'm especially kind of sad about the fact that we can't really test it out on any RPGs yet. I mean, that's where you really want to see the world rather than have super performance. Like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, they announced it a long time ago, but it's not here. I don't see it yet. I really hope to see it soon, but who knows when they're going to announce it. And that's really the story with all their games so far. It's pretty much just Battlefield 5. And I think we're way past the stage where RTX is a cool feature to hear about when we're paying for all these cards. Alright, so the second part, the cool part, very interesting part. We have machine learning cores dedicated. They're called tensor cores, and they're specifically inside the card. And I'm looking over here because my computer's this way, but yeah, pretty much you get the point. It's really cool. It sounds really gimmicky, but it's actually going to serve an awesome purpose. And this is called DLSS. And basically what it's going to do is, let's say you want to run your game in 4K. Normally, 4K graphics is really hard on GPUs. In fact, 4K gaming isn't really out. It's not really something budget gamers can do quite yet. At least not well. It would work, but it would be kind of choppy, I guess. It wouldn't look too great. But now, DLSS, what it's going to do is it's going to basically take a 1440p resolution base image and use machine learning to not only upscale it, but it's going to actually fill in details, which is just really cool. And in practice, we don't really know that well. There is one game with DLSS so far, and that's really a demo, and that's Final Fantasy. It's okay, it works, there's a lot of hiccups here and there, but you can really see where the performance would increase, and it's going to be huge, because 1440p is much more capable than a 4K image on a graphics card like these. So I'm excited for that, and who knows what's going to happen, because it's not really out yet. We don't really know too much information about it, other than the fact that it's going to work, since most games don't even have support for it yet. Shadow of the Tomb Raider has it announced, but once again, we don't know what's going to happen with that, since technically they were supposed to have ray tracing too. So we're kind of in a spot where it's hard to say what's going to happen with this card. And once again, the right question to ask is what will happen in the future, but another question that goes along with it is, when is that future? Because I would like to try out all these cool features on my new graphics card that I got, but I can't. So that's pretty much it for the review. So who's this graphics card for? It's pretty much for anybody who wants the latest features, all the RTX features. If you think RTX is cool, you should get this card. If you're looking for a more budget card, maybe the 1060's for you. If you're looking for something similar but with more VRAM, the 1070 and the 1070 Ti are just a little bit more expensive, but you get pretty good performance for that. So, it's up to you. But NVIDIA did sweeten the deal a little bit, and that's why I went to the RTX instead of a GTX. And that was Anthem. Anthem comes with the RTX 2060, or you can get Battlefield 5 as well. And that really sweetened the deal for me because I really wanted that game. So if you're kind of thinking about the RTX, you're kind of on the fence, and you want one of those two games, Battlefield 5 or Anthem, I think you should totally go for it. But don't force yourself to go get a game just because they're giving you one. Think about it first and do your research, and I hope you get the best card possible. Okay, so that's it for this video pretty much. I'm excited with this new graphics card. I'm excited to see what RTX brings me, and hopefully I'll be able to share with all of you. As you can see, this is a very fledgling channel, as in this is my first video. I'm very excited to share my opinions, thoughts, and research because I love technology. If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up, and if you don't like it, then dislike it twice, because that way, yeah, just do that. Also, hit subscribe if you want to keep hearing my opinions and my thoughts about technology, because I really love technology and I would love to share what I know and what I learned from all this cool tech that comes out. Anyway, I'll catch you in the next one.